Los Angeles Rams. So we have NOLA at Los Angeles on Thursday night. Let me ask you this. Can the Rams make it back to the NFC Championship?
As of right now, I'm glad you led with this because this is one of the main things I want to talk about. I have a few other things about the Rams I want to bring up. But so for starters, I want to remind everybody, let me get the exact number of weeks here because you know me, I'm always bad with short math. It's the ADD in me, trying to remember these things. But so 3 weeks ago, the Rams took the Ravens to overtime. And it was a great game. And you maybe ask yourself, is this fluke? No, it's becoming very, very clear. The reality is that the Rams started off very much not on the right foot. Was it the combination of like staff going through the thing with like the arthritis and then that the running back room still wasn't really set and the receiving core was kind of still trying to find a way to mesh all together? I would say more than anything, yeah. And these young defenders like Kobe Turner, Byron Young, they had to get a little bit of reps in with AD. They had to really get the flow going with the D-line. Feels like right now, this Rams team can compete with anybody in the NFC. I actually have zero doubt about that. It's just a matter of showing up that given day. But I can completely see the Rams in an NFC championship again this season.
Those, like the Rams and kind of like how the Packers are playing, I know we'll get into their game more. They only beat the Panthers by 3, but these are teams that as you get later into the season, even if they're around 500, in the hunt for the playoffs, those are teams that, let's say, a Dallas or a Philadelphia doesn't want to play early on because they know that even though they have the better record, these guys are playing for, I don't want to say more, but almost like more with a chip on their shoulder where they want to prove that they're meant to be here and they can compete with the best. Because honestly, with the way the 49ers played last night, I'm not saying this would ever happen in the playoffs, but, with McVay and the connection to Shanahan, I mean, I'm going to say 8 times out of 10, the 49ers are beating the Rams, but the Rams have an actual shot.
Well, and as we know, the whole thing is, and we know the running joke where Shanny has McVay's number,
right?
But except for the one time that McVay needed that, and they went onto the bull and won it. So could this be a repeat of that this year?
So that would be crazy because in my opinion, like I said with the Rams, it's just like the way they've been playing, the way Stafford has been playing. Stafford's been playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league these last couple weeks.
14 touchdowns and 1 interception. And I don't, it's not even just the numbers that do it justice. He is like, the throws that he's making, it's like, what got into you? Like, not that I know he can do this, but from compared to what he was doing early on in the year, he's out here, he's lighting it up. He's pulling out the sidearms again. He's pulling out the no looks again. He said, you know what? Wait a minute. I forgot who I am. Man, I'm staff. Fuck this. I'm out here dotting you guys up. I'm going to go back to that Super Bowl form. And about halfway through this year, he flipped a switch, and Stafford reminded everybody who he is.
I think also like having Kyren Williams being able to establish the run game, and then Puka obviously being that rookie, that superstar rookie, and Cooper Kupp, like they're surrounded by so many pieces. And when you have like an offensive genius like a Sean McVay, it's almost like anything is possible. Les Snead has shown that he can build a team without draft picks, which is very crucial in these Rams being able to compete. I mean, I think we know what the Rams are at this point. The fact that nobody knows what they are from a week-to-week basis, and that they can compete with the best teams. Now, that is quite the kind of similar with the Saints, where it's like you don't know what you're getting every week, but usually it's a little bit more of a bust than a boom.
And the thing is, the Saints record is very misleading. Like, and if you ask any Saints fan, the thing is, it would seem that way, like looking at them. But the reality is, in my opinion, all it's been is that the Saints are slightly better than the bad teams that they play. And then whenever they have to play a good team, you see what happens. They don't show up, and it is unmotivated garbage. That's the worst part about the Saints, is that I have always had faith in the roster. It's the leadership on the roster that does not produce, aka the coaching staff. And I'm not even going to harp on it any longer. All I'm going to say is we went into the week with about a 50% plus chance to make the playoffs, rounded up. Well, now we're down to about a 12% chance. And if you're asking me as a Saints fan, and every Saints fan would agree, at this point, there's no point making the playoffs. We'd get our ass kicked on national TV. And I'm much more likely that if we don't make it, at least we maybe make some kind of change. But I'm going to be honest with you, that Southern ownership, the way that they try to operate things with all this continuity and garbage down there, it doesn't even give you much hope regardless. And every Saints fan will tell you the same thing. The Saints, for whatever reason, are so gosh darn like adamant on like everything has to stay the same year to year and continuity. This is a changing era. I know that shit might have used to work, but you can look at it for organizations like the Patriots. You can look at organizations like the Steelers. Sometimes continuity is not working like it used to anymore. You got to have guys in there that are ready to go. And the reality is, if you're not doing your job, you got to get the fuck out. And I'm sorry. And it's like, if as a Saints fan, if we go another year with this coaching regime, I might have to take a year off watching. I'm joking, but I mean, it's going to be, I will be enraged.
I think the issue too is like the Saints have continually kicked the can down the road to compete with this core. And I don't think it's really turning out how they wanted. The guys that they're kicking the can down the road for are getting older as well. And let's just say, I guess my opinion is, or my question to you is, let's say the Saints lose out and they finish at, what would that, 7-10?
Yeah, we'd be 7-10.
7-10. If you have a top 10 pick, what position are you targeting to try to fix this?
Oh, well, here's my thing. Because there's another thing I want to talk about where it's not getting talked about enough at all. Like, yes, is Derek Carr not the guy in my opinion? And are we going to have to move on from Carr eventually? Like, oh, absolutely. But that's the thing is where it's not an easy rebuild for the Saints at this point because like you said, we're getting older. We're going to have to rehash things out with even with the guys we already have that are good, we're going to have to refill those positions. But if you're asking me where I'm starting, again, back to what worked with Drew. We've been getting away from it over these last few years, and it makes no sense. Let's make sure that we have an All-Pro O-line. Right now, the O-line is playing like garbage. And it's not getting, like, it's like not talked about, not at all, because the Saints are just not a very big market. I don't know, whatever the reason. Every media analyst just wants to say, like, how much Carr sucks this year. Look, I'll tell you how much Carr has sucked, too. But I'm also going to tell you that O-line is arguably worse than Carr. Nobody can do anything back to the Ronald McDonald analogy. Throw Ronald McDonald or Prime Tom back there. It's not going to look great because nobody's going to have time. That our O-line is terrible this year. Especially the interior is a mess. Just come on through. It's a joke. So Derek Carr has no time, and he's a terrible decision maker. I'm saying, give me
the
O-line.
Ronald McDonald line.
That's
the thing.
I'm gonna keep bringing it back. Like
any team that has a bad O-line, Ronald McDonald couldn't even succeed.
He
could succeed past there.
It would look the same.
It would look the same
because it's just a joke. And it really is. Where I'll be the one to start the narrative. The Saints O-line is one of the worst in the league, and it needs to be upgraded. See, the only positive thing I really have about the Saints is, I mean, really, I think it actually is the only positive note. At least Olave, Joe, and Michael Thomas, and Marquise Colston is the only Saints receivers with 1,000 plus receiving yards in their first 2 seasons.
That's like the quietest, ever.
It's like
I feel like I didn't hear about it at all.
That's the problem. It's because a lot of these yards were like garbage time. Like the Saints offense and the Saints this year have just been so lethargic. It's just, and not Olave still is a great receiver. He is. I'll tell you firsthand. He's a very talented guy. But the Saints fans still agree. He definitely still has a lot of growth to do. It's not like he's an all-pro level or anything yet. He definitely still got some growth to do. But you definitely got to love the trajectory we're seeing. Mine is Chris. And a few other bright spots this year. I got nothing to say other than the Saints literally foiled what should have been their easiest year to make the playoffs in like the last decade plus.